Before we start, there's a little wager going on over at HITC that they can't gain more than 1,000 subscribers in a day, and here at HITC Sport, we want in. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for more great videos like this one, hopefully, as we continue the climb to 200,000 subscribers. But anyway, back to today, and as we get to grips with the latest edition of FIFA, it's clear to see that some players are really underrated on the game, so we're going to look at every Premier League club and pick out their most underrated player on FIFA 19. Arsenal Matteo Guendouzi. While it's understandable that the Frenchman's rating isn't too high, the curly-haired youngster has already proven that he should start the game a bit better than he does. Guendouzi is currently rated at just 69, which makes him one of Arsenal's least desirable options in the middle of the park. However, Guendouzi has shown in the early weeks of the season that despite being a raw talent still, he clearly has the potential to do well for Arsenal and should be rated much higher than a 69. I mean, maybe only lower 70s as he is only 19, but a 69 rating seems a little bit harsh based on his first impressions. Bournemouth Ryan Fraser. The Scot has started the season in sublime form and like Guendouzi is a victim of finding form too late. Fraser had a decent season last year for Bournemouth, but is even more instrumental this time, proving to be a massive goal threat for Eddie Howe's side. But even last year it felt like he was underrated on FIFA, with Fraser not boasting that much potential. He starts FIFA 19 as a 75, which seems ever so slightly low, and he can only make it to a 79, which isn't great considering the lad's only 24 years old. Brighton Glenn Murray. Despite maturing like a fine wine and proving he can be a goal-scoring machine in the Premier League, Glenn Murray's FIFA rating is still not that exciting. Murray scored 12 goals for Brighton last season, and those goals helped keep the Seagulls in the division. But despite that, Murray is just a 76 rating on FIFA, which doesn't even make him Brighton's best striker. When Mo Salah scored a shit ton of goals last season, his rating went all the way up to an 88, so I feel like Glenn Murray should have got the same sort of treatment. Burnley Ben Gibson. To be honest, this is just another FIFA video where Burnley seem to be a problem, because if anything, their players seem to be overrated rather than underrated. How can Jack Cork be a 79? But we've got to pick someone for the video, so we've gone with Ben Gibson, who starts as just a 74. The centre-back has been impressive for Middlesbrough, proving he can be a leader at the back, and looks like a great piece of business by the Clarets. However, his FIFA rating isn't anything special, and maybe could have been a couple of ratings higher. Cardiff Josh Murphy. Twin brother Jacob starts the game as a 72, and he's really struggled at Newcastle since arriving last summer, whereas Josh looks a little bit more at home in the Premier League with Cardiff. Josh looks like he can actually be a threat in the top flight, so to be 3 ratings lower than his twin is a bit harsh, starting as a lowly 69. So either Jacob Murphy is overrated, or Josh is underrated. Let us know which you think it is in the comments below. Chelsea Antonio Rudiger. It was a little bit hard to find someone who's underrated at Chelsea on FIFA, as they're all fairly decent, but we think German centre-half Antonio Rudiger might actually have been treated a little bit harshly by the guys at EA. The defender begins as just an 81 and can only get as high as an 84, but so far this season he's looked like one of the best defenders around, immediately adapting to Maurizio Sarri's system. I think it's fair to say he'll get a ratings boost in the coming months, as he's surely better than the 81 he's been given, even if it's just for that goal line clearance against Liverpool. Crystal Palace James McArthur. The former Wigan midfielder starts FIFA 19 as just a 76, and that seems a little bit harsh to me for a lad who can crop up with some key goals from midfield. McArthur has the ability to go under the radar at Palace, and that might be exactly what's happened here, as the 30-year-old could surely pass for at least a 78 rating. I mean, we're not saying the lad's a world beater, but it just seems like James McArthur constantly gets overlooked. Or maybe I'm overstating his impact at Palace, who knows. Everton Richarlison. A £50 million summer signing from Watford, some people would have had him rated lower than a 77 considering the amount of grief that came the top his way for splashing out on the Brazilian. But a fine start to life on Merseyside has silenced the doubters, and it now actually looks like Richarlison has been underrated on FIFA 19. With his performances early on, you could argue that he should be pushing towards an 80 rating, but if you use him properly it won't take him long to get there anyway with his potential of 85. Fulham Alexander Mitrovic. This might be a nod to his performances for Newcastle, but a 76 seems low for Alexander Mitrovic. Even more so, his potential seems low, only seemingly capable of reaching an 81. While his time at Newcastle may have stunted his development, Mitrovic was sensational at Fulham in the second half of last season, reminding everyone of exactly what he's capable of. He's now a talisman-like figure for the Cottagers, and surely should start the game near the 80 mark because of his goal-scoring ability. If only there was an arm flapping button on FIFA, he'd definitely get a 99 rating for that. Huddersfield Town, Philip Billing. I think I've just got it in my head that Philip Billing is a lot better than he actually is, as I mentioned last time that I was surprised to see his initial rating so low. But we've got Phil Billing down as Huddersfield Town's most underrated player, kicking off the game as a 69. Obviously a good long throw doesn't enhance your FIFA rating, because if it did then Phil Billing would be much better on the game. The Danish midfielder seems key to Huddersfield's tactics this season, which are basically just hurling the ball into the box from every angle. Leicester City, Demarai Gray. We could have gone with James Maddison, but EA weren't to know how quickly he'd adapt to Premier League football. So after scouring the Leicester squad, we've decided that Demarai Gray is the one that maybe deserves a little ratings boost. The winger starts the game at 76, but I don't think it would be too unfair if Gray was a little bit better than he is. Gray has proven he can hang with Leicester's exciting Premier League squad, but in all honesty, Leicester was a difficult one here. All of their players are kind of rated fairly. Liverpool, Dejan Lovren. I mean, who else is it going to be? Dejan Lovren is one of the best central defenders in the world today, and those are his own words, so it must be true. So why on earth does his FIFA rating not reflect that? The Croatian is an 81 rating, which doesn't even make him the best centre back at Anfield, which is just madness. Sergio Ramos is the best centre back on the game at 91, so therefore Lovren should at least be a 91 as well. Apologies out there for everyone who doesn't understand the concept of sarcasm, by the way. Manchester City, John Stones. Again, just like other big clubs, it's hard to actually find a player who's underrated, so we've had to go with John Stones. The City centre-back was one of England's heroes in the summer, playing a key role in Gareth Southgate's back three, but that hasn't seen his FIFA rating increase by as much as you'd think. Stones starts as an 82, making him the worst of Manchester City's first team centre-backs, providing you ignore Eliakim Mangala. But with his sublime passing ability and now the cutting out of mistakes, surely John Stones can demand more than an 82 rating. Manchester United, Luke Shaw. The left-back's renaissance probably came a bit too late to see his FIFA rating reflect his current ability, so Luke Shaw starts as just a 79. In comparison, Ashley Young is an 80, and I know he's more experienced and appeared at the World Cup, but you can't tell me that the former right winger is a better left-back than Luke Shaw. It would be fair to say that Luke Shaw is at least on par with Danny Rose, who's an 80, so I think the Manchester United defender can feel slightly aggrieved. Newcastle United, Jamal Lascelles. Newcastle are another hard one to find a player who's been underrated on FIFA, as sadly none of them are very good at the minute. But we've gone with captain Jamal Lascelles, who begins the game as a 78. While Newcastle fans have heralded their captain for England duty, the jury still seems to be out elsewhere, which might be why the guys at EA don't consider him to be ready for an 80 rating just yet. And that's despite having a sensational year at the back last year for Newcastle, while many other English centre-backs who were rated higher than him struggled. Southampton, Matt Targett. Just like Alexander Mitrovic, it seems as though Matt Targett's form for Fulham has had no impact on his FIFA 19 rating. The young left-back begins the game as a 70, which is very low for a competent defender like Targett. Sure, he's far from the finished article, and he isn't even the best left-back at Southampton, but I'm sure he's better than a 70, like maybe a 72 or a 73. Tottenham, Lucas Moura. The Brazilian has had a blistering start of the season after arriving in January from PSG, after a slow start to life at Spurs. But EA have decided that Lucas Moura is only worthy of an 82, which isn't a bad starting point, but his potential rating is only 83, which seems a bit low considering the lad's only 26 years old. Moura has been the star of Tottenham's start of the season, but his FIFA rating doesn't really do his talents justice. Watford, Roberto Pereira. When the Hornets signed Roberto Pereira from Juventus a few years ago, it seemed an absolute coup, and during his time in the Premier League, Pereira has shown flashes here and there of his undoubted talent. Like many players on this list, Pereira has had a blistering start of the season and has provided both goals and assists for Javi Grazia's side. He begins the game as a 79 rating, which is probably lower than his actual talents, and he can't get any better, which is surprising when you consider he's probably Watford's most creative player. West Ham, Declan Rice. Now seemingly English rather than Irish, Declan Rice's rating is surely set to shoot up now that he wants to represent Gareth Southgate's Three Lions. But at the start of FIFA 19, Declan Rice was still considered Irish, and therefore not very good, taking home a grim rating of 69, and that's despite doing well at times last season for the Hammers. This season Rice is doing even better, and looks like a key component in Manuel Pellegrini's side, a component that is surely worth at least a 73 or a 74, even in the early stages of his career. And finally Wolves, Matt Doherty. Plying his trade as the right wing back at Wolves, Matt Doherty is perfectly suited to Nuno's system at Molineux. The Irish fullback has had a fantastic start to Premier League life and looks like the perfect right wing back with his ability to get up and down the flank while providing brilliant crosses for the likes of Raul Jimenez. But despite his talents, Doherty only starts the game as a 74 rating, which I think should be a little higher when you look at how essential he is to the way Wolves play. So that's one player from each Premier League club who's underrated on FIFA 19. Let us know what you reckon in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.